So this video introduces a new feature in the Adaptable Blotter called action columns. And this is something that many of our clients have asked us for. And what an action column is a special column that you specify at design time that has a button in it. And in the Adaptable Blotter, when that button is clicked, will tell you the column, the row, and anything else you need to know in order to subscribe, listen to the event, and perform any actions accordingly. So you can see in this example here, taken from our demo site, we've got 3 action buttons. We've got one called multiply, which multiplies the item cost. And then we've got plus and minus buttons, which update the item count column accordingly. So how do they work? So like most things in the Adaptable Blotter, it's done through config. If you can see here, we've got a new action column state that takes action columns, and action columns just have 2, and sometimes the third property we'll look at soon. The name of the column, that's what appears here. The name which appears on the button text, so click. This is a times, this is a so this is a plus, this is a minus, that's these and these, and that's it. And then what happens is when you click the button, the Adaptable Blotter fires an event. You can see here we're listening to the event called action column clicked, and then these event args tell you the column that's been clicked, tells you the value of the primary key in that row, and it tells you all the values in the row. And then you can see here, when we listen to plus, we add 1 to the item count. We listen to, if the column is minus, then we use a Blotter API. This is one of the many methods in the Adaptable Blotter API, grid API set value, which adds 1 to the item count column. And then if it's multiply, then depending on whether the value in the item cost, we either multiply by 2 or multiply by 3. And again, we set the value. So that's what's happening here. Now, if you want to make that button look different or nicer, you're able to do that through a third property in the action column. So let's do that here. And that's called render function name. And what happens here is when you provide a render function name in your state, it's then your responsibility also to provide an actual render function, i.e. kind of what that looks like. And then we've got that here in your blotter options. So in your config, you give the name of the function, and this is similar to our name filters and many other functions. You actually provide the function itself in your blotter options in the user functions. And here we are, we've got something called render button func. And what it does is it says if the employee is Margaret, then render nothing. Otherwise, if it's more than 75, let's use the double button class. Otherwise, use the treble button class. These classes are here, double button and treble button. So it's just pure CSS. And then you can see that here. So if I save this config and then I rerun, if I clear the state, you can now see that button is not rendering where it's Margaret, and it's using that. So there we are. They're action buttons, very basic buttons that you define at design time, and which allow you to listen to events when they're clicked and perform any actions. So it could be a double click against a column. It could be anything at all. So they're one of the 3 special columns we have in the Adaptable Blotter. We have action columns, we have custom columns where you can create your own calculated expression, and we have free text columns where you can write comments. Thanks for watching, and as always, any questions, please get in touch.